We finally got to see episode 6 and the previews of episode 7 of the second season of Alchemy of Souls. So we can notice that the story is getting more interesting, and at the same time the episodes are more adrenaline pumping. That's why today I want to talk to you about the previews of episode 7 revealed. But remember to subscribe to this channel so you will be aware of all the details of this amazing series. We saw in the last minutes of episode 6 that Yul went to find Soe and then confronted Jin-Moo's men. Soe sadly passed away, but she had a bit of satisfaction because she was able to help the love of her life. Yul was very sad and furious to learn that Soe had died and fought with the men. However, his strength was not the same as the bloodworm was stealing his energy. Then when one of the men was about to kill Yul, Jae-wook appeared. Yul was in agony and asked Yul for forgiveness, and apparently he could have died. Then Jae-wook very angrily threatened the men and warned them that no one would get out alive. In the previews, Jae-wook asked, "Who passed that thing on Soe's body? Was it Jin-Moo's doing?" So we know that Jae-wook knows the whole truth and will go after Jin-Moo. Jae-wook had been looking for Jin-Moo for a long time because he wanted to confront him, but he didn't because of the words Park Jin once told him. Park Jin told him that if he confronted the kingship and Jin-Moo, he would use the energy of heaven to alter the world. He had to confess to him everything about his real father and showed him the gold plate and the letter his father left him and told him that he is the son of the late king. He stressed to him that if he intends to use his power gained by being born under the king's star, he will simply bring chaos to the world, and that he would then do anything to stop him even if he died by his hands. This is the only reason why Jae-wook doesn't confront the kingship or Jin-Moo. He did it just for not hurting Park Jin. But now when he sees that Yul was supposedly killed, it will unleash the grudge and frustration he had from the past, and he will mow him down in order to face Jin-Moo. But now the difference is that Master Lee is supporting him, and this time he won't do it just to save one person, but to save the world. We saw that Jin-Moo says, "Stop Jae-wook from entering Cheonbugwan." And then in the narration we hear, if Yul dies, it will start a big confrontation between Sungrim and Cheonbugwan. So officially it is expected that episode 7 will feature a big battle between Jae-wook and Jin-Moo, and now Songrims can be joined, because they hurt Yul, who is one of them, and also because Park Jin must know that Jin-Moo is planning to cause a drought to get an ice stone. Yoonok said, "She said she didn't want to find out, so I planned to show her," while opening a letter, which was the same letter that Yul had. It is very likely that in that letter it tells everything about Naksu's identity. Then Yoonok says, "You said you don't remember who you are, right?" and throws water in Booyeon's face. Yul was preparing some things, and among those things was that letter, and he had sealed it. The curious thing is that he then said, "Tear out the heart and break it into pieces." This may mean that the bloodworm was already hurting him because it was absorbing his energy. Hoyeon said that the person with the bloodworm has a high tolerance for pain, but soon the pain was going to be unbearable and kill him. We also saw how Yul had a bad thought and imagined killing Booyeon, since he knew that she really is Naksu. He had every intention of really killing her because he wanted to accompany her to see the tree, and before that he asked her if she said goodbye to Jae-wook, but of course he couldn't do anything because he was going to save Soe. That's why when he is dying he asks Jae-wook for forgiveness. So we can see that also the worm, by absorbing Yul's energy, can cause negative behavior in people, much like when they shift souls, that people who become wild because of the lack of energy, but in this case they can become evil because of so much physical pain. We could also see in the next episode Yoonok be very jealous of Booyeon's presence, and for such reason when reading Yul's letter she could realize that she is Naksu, and that's why she threw the water in her face. But apparently, Yoonok is angry and wants Booyeon to remember everything. Maybe because she thinks that if they recognize that she is Naksu they could eliminate her and she would finally stay with Jae-wook. We see how Boo-yeon runs her hand over Yeol's chest, and we hear in the narration, just 3 breaths. Watching the last minutes of episode 6 and the previews of the next one, we can think that Yeol died. But as we are talking about this series, there are so many mystical concepts that he might not die. There is still the possibility that Yeol resurrects or recovers through a divine power or something specific. For example, when one of Ho-yeon's maids asked if the worm could be taken out of the body, she just said that birds eat worms, and then you see the images of the small fire birds they were using to cause the drought. So we could imagine that the worm can be taken out by means of Jin-yeon's firebird, but we should also think that this bird is not good, and that is why it is hidden, because it can do a lot of harm, and it would not make much sense. But since we are talking about mystical things and things related to sorcery or some kind of negative energy, there must be something for the worm to come out of the body. The other option would be Boo-yeon. We know that she has divine powers and is slowly recovering her powers, so it is likely that she knows how to handle that worm. Recall that although we know she is Naksu, she has Boo-yeon's blood and body, and we believe that according to one theory, Boo-yeon and Naksu's souls may be intertwined. Ho-yeon once said that when Boo-yeon was little she played with the relics as if they were her toys, so it is very likely that with her power she can handle that worm since she is a priestess with divine powers. We also saw at the end of the preview that Jae-wook said the blue marks bloomed in her eyes like flowers. While we watched, Boo-yeon showed her blue eyes through the water. So already Jae-wook has more clues and he can be more sure that Boo-yeon might be Naksu. He just needs to get more information so he doesn't get his hopes up. It is expected that in the next episode he will get closer to Boo-yeon and will feel something deeper for her, and for that reason he will try to find out the truth. The problem is that only a few people know the truth. So we found out that Boo-yeon is Naksu, but she passed away. Yeol also knows, but we don't know if he's dead. Ho-yeon knows, but obviously won't tell Jae-wook, and Jin-moo has very strong suspicions too but hasn't confirmed it. So for now the only one who could tell him would be Master Lee, but he won't because he made a promise not to reveal it. So it is expected that Boo-yeon herself will realize that she really is Naksu, and will clearly tell Jae-wook who she is and prove it to him with specific details, and then he will be very sure that the love of his life will be with him again. The only problem is that if Jin-moo confirms that Boo-yeon is Naksu, he will try to hurt her and thus Jae-wook might suffer again. But in this season, we don't know who will get hurt more, without Naksu again or Jae-wook. What is certain is that the next episode will be very important because the last episodes are approaching. What do you think will happen in episode 7? Leave your comment here. If you like this video, remember to subscribe to this channel and share it with your friends.